Hey guys, thought I'd make a video on soldering, the correct way to do it, or at least a better way of doing it than I've seen some people do it. It's a pretty big mess here. I've got my soldering iron and a vise to make it a little easier. It's a Hexacon 60 watt, which is a little hot for doing these connectors, but lets me do it fast. I'll put a link for that in the description. We're just gonna do some XLR male ends on this. Let's try that. Maybe I can keep it in focus. Already got this thing hot. It's burning up. Gonna clean the tip. Usually use a wet sponge, but that was right next to me. Tin it. What that does is creates the solder bridge, so that hot solder on the tip of that is what's going to conduct the heat into the part. You always heat the part, not the solder. I got some shrink tube that I just always keep them pre-cut. I've already kind of stripped the end of this. I'm just putting this on. We'll deal with that later. And then before, yeah, we'll just strip the ends. On XLRs, I just do like, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch, a little more. See how fast I could do these. When I'm doing a lot of cables, I use a solder pot, so I can just dip these instead of individually tinning all these wires. Again, I'm heating the wire and I'm touching the solder to the wire. If the wire is not hot enough to melt the solder, it's not making that bond. It's actually a molecular bond when you're soldering. It's not glue, so all mechanical connections need to be made before you add the solder. And then I usually put, this is just Teflon tubing. I'm going to put a little bit on that shield wire, just to make sure nothing's ever going to shorten this connector. So I just slide that on, just like that. Then I've got one more piece of shrink. Actually, let's put the boot on first. I can't tell you how many times I forget to put the boot on before I solder everything. Then you just gotta undo it. It makes a mess. It's frustrating. Then I put the smaller shrink tube on. That's gonna cover up to the connector. So this thing is not going to short, no matter who yanks on it or whatever they feel like doing that day. We take our pins. If you look, there's little numbers. You probably can't see them, but if you're looking in person, they're on there. So it's pin 1, 2, 3. Pin 1 is the shield. Pin 2 is hot. Pin 3 is cold, I call it. Some people, you can do positive and negative, but it's the bottom swing of the signal voltage if you want to get technical with it. And on the female, I've got one here. On the female, they're reversed. So this is pin 1, this is pin 2, this is pin 3. It's only 1 and 2 that ever switch. 3 is always on the bottom. So where am I supposed to talk about? Pin 1. I like to start with that one because clean this off again. Start with that one because it's stiff with wire, and I typically cut them shorter just to keep them out of the way of the other pins. But I'm touching the soldering iron to the back of the cup, and I've already filled these cups. That's a whole other video, but I'm touching the tip to the back of the cup. It's gonna melt that. I'm just putting in the wire, waiting a second, pulling off. You want a shiny connection like that. If it dulls out, it's a cold joint. It's not going to hold up. I'll just continue around. Pin 2. Let all that solder melt before I put the wire in. And pin 3. Heat the part, not the solder. I wouldn't recommend doing this, but I mean I can pull on this connector and it's not, I mean they're in there. Alright, everything's covered up. Not gonna get any shorts. That was hot. Put my shrink up. See if I can do this in the frame. There's that. Burn everything else down. Screw it. Okay. Then the barrel, it's keyed, you know, so it only goes in that one way. Strain relief. Again, also has the key on it. Plug that in. Screw on the boot. That's it. Rock solid. Should last. We'll see.